Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings dear ones, I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There is so much sacredness here. And the sacredness is generated by the intent of those in the chairs. Anytime a human being will gather with another human being and say, I'm here for one reason, I want to know more. I've heard some wild stories of perhaps things that are beyond my understanding that might change my life, might enhance those things that I would love to enhance. That's why I'm in the chair. And this creates a field in itself. Perhaps there are those of you who could feel that and have felt that and did feel that this morning when you walked in the room. Because of the numbers that are here, there is a field that is generated with intent that is so sacred and so beautiful. And it's seen. Oh, it's seen. You may have heard the premise that when you have a number of people gathered together, that there is enhanced not just abilities and power, but light itself. And with the intent that we are speaking of, it creates a field of light. Now we speak metaphorically, but consciousness truly is a part of the physics that you study today. Is it too much to imagine that intent could be seen multidimensionally? It might even have a color, dear ones. You're very attractive when you're here with intent like this. There are so many different kinds of intent, even here in the room. Even those listening. There's casual intent. I think I'll take a listen. There's intent that wants to cognize everything that is said. I want to know more because everything you've said, Kryon, has either taken place or is happening or is going to happen, and I'm on board. And between those kinds of intent, there's all the shades in between. And dear ones, all of them are appropriate. The one who simply wants to take a look is doing so with free choice. You may take a look and leave and never come back. But in that crack that you took a look, you got to see and feel the idea that you're sacred. And those who wish to cognize what is here and what is coming may enjoy the channel tonight. We told you in the channel before that the title would be this: Who do you think you are? Now that's an expression that humans would often use as an accusation. But the question in the form of the channel tonight is real. And the reason it's being asked at all, right now, the reason, you'll see in a moment. Because who you think you are shapes everything to come. Everything. Let's start this way. Let's start with the objections that some light workers have had about some of the concepts I have presented. And the objections are these: they don't work. Dear Kryon, I've heard you talk for now 20 years, and you've said you must speak to your cells. You talk to your structure, it's listening. And I have. I've got this issue, and I've been working on it, and I talk to my cells, and nothing happens. I've only one thing to conclude: doesn't work. Dear Kryon, I've heard you talk about compassion as being the key to changing those around me, to changing myself, to all of these things. I've tried so hard to be compassionate. Doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Have you got something else? Dear Kryon, I've heard you speak of God inside. I don't think so. Certainly isn't in my life. I'd like it to be. I really would like it to be. I listen to you and I'd like it to be. But then you finish and nothing's there. I'm about to expose you, oh, ones who would ask the questions. And I ask you, who do you think you are? If you had to draw a list of who you think you are, what's it look like, dear human being? And I will start the list for you. And it's fraught with bias, misunderstanding, disbelief, ignorance, and more. And you don't know it. You don't even know it. It goes like this. Who do you think you are? Okay, I'm male, I'm female, I'm so many years old. Stop. You are, really. That's how old you are. I see you wrote that down in big letters. That's how old you are. So let's discuss age for a moment. What comes with the statement, how old you are? And I'll tell you, a tremendous bias. Right away, you are acting out how old you're supposed to be based upon information that was given to you about others that age. You realize that, don't you? So however old you are, first of all, you're older than you used to be, and you don't like that. That's a bias in itself. Aging is a bias. If you don't like it, it's a bias. You think living for 900 years was a typo in Scripture? Or was it true? How did they do that? And I'll tell you, they never said, I am so many years old. Because age meant nothing. They exist. In a body, year after year, that will age, if you even want to use the word, on its own schedule. But if you are biased enough to put limits on it, you'll go right to the place where medicine says you ought to be. That is one of the biggest biases you have. Who do you think you are? Stop telling people how old you are. Do you realize what this carries with it? If any of you watch your media, have you watched the ads of how you're supposed to feel at a certain age? And what drugs you're supposed to take at a certain age because of how you're supposed to feel at a certain age? It's programming. You are programmed to age poorly. And I just said it. This doesn't simply come from media. It comes from your parents. It comes from school. It comes from society. If you didn't have a stigma on how old you were, would your chemistry be different? Bingo. Yes. Because consciousness is guiding cellular structure. How you believe is being absorbed by your body and acted upon. I'll say it again. You show up at the restaurant called life, and the menu is there, and you give an order. And then you start aging poorly. Dear ones, your food has arrived. You just ordered it, and here it is. It's as simple as that. It's on the menu, and you ordered it. And so you seem to feel a certain way because you have a certain age. Perhaps you have been told aging is a bad thing. So you continually look into the mirror to see if it's a bad thing. And your body knows what you're looking for and cooperates. It's a bad thing. Who do you think you are? Number one, I'm an ageless human being existing on this planet magnificently. I'm an ageless human being existing on this planet magnificently. And my body hears every single word I'm saying. And my cellular structure is clueless on how old I am. So don't give me a birthday party with candles, because we're not counting. I can't tell you how much that would do for you. Who do you think you are? Well, Kryon, I have a genealogy that doesn't really work for me. You see, here's what's happened in my family. Stop. You have just now told your body that any predispositions it might have with genealogy that is inherited is going to manifest. Period. That's what you told your body. And here it comes. Did you know what has been proven? Your genealogy is not in charge. Oh, it will come with inheritance. It will come with perhaps what you will call predispositions. Now, predispositions are there. They may even manifest. But, dear ones, that's only if nothing happens around them. The cells of your body are designed to listen to the boss. The cells of your body are designed to listen to the boss. They are ready to be programmed. And the consciousness that you give them is the programming they will respond to better than anything else on the planet. You can program yourself out of any inheritance. Did you know that? Just like you can program your age, and the amount that you age is programmable. The amount of energy you have is programmable. And the programming to your cells comes from that which we call intent. There it is again. Consciousness, intent, can program a human being so that they can last longer, not be attracted to disease, come through life in a way that is spectacular in its peacefulness and its beauty and its elegance, instead of having to suffer through it. Number 3, you don't know what's happened to me, Kryon. No, but you just told your body that whatever's happened is just awful. And that just means that whatever happens is going to age you, and it's going to make you a victim. You programmed yourself to be a victim. And if you didn't, others have. And it just depends upon who you listen to about who is God, what the relationship is, or whether you were born dirty or magnificent. Programmed to suffer. Who do you think you are? So far, you're aging badly, your genealogy is horrible, and you're a victim. Who do you think you are? That's who you think you are. I could go on and on. But here's what I want to show you. If that's who you are, how do you think that one thing that you're going to change is then going to correct everything? So the ones who say, well, that doesn't work, Kryon, give me something better, have already decided who they are. And they're used to a system that is linear. You may call it allopathic, it's not the right word. A system that is linear says this: no matter who you are, no matter what you've suffered, no matter what your genealogy, if you take a pill, it will help. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, it's going to help. And of course, you may have to take it again and again, but you get help. That's not this way. It's not the way it works, dear ones. Not with spirituality. The truth is this: how you think you are and what you believe you are is the precursor to all of the things I teach working. Did I say that correctly? You've got to change your belief before any of these things are going to come to fruition in your life. If you're going to talk to your cells, you can't give me a list that says, here's who I am. Now I'm going to talk to my cells and it's going to change everything. You've got to start at the beginning. And the beauty of this teaching is this. Once you start to cognize the fact that you are magnificent in the eyes of God, of nature, you belong here, everything starts to snap in place. Because truth has that about it. It rings in your body. The cellular structures will, if they could talk, they will say, well, it's about time. What do you have for us today? What's your order today? What's on the menu today? How about health and peace and you name it? What about a system where the years don't matter? There's no stigma anymore. That your body has to do something at a certain time because you've assigned numbers to it. This is not true. It isn't. And so in this channel, the beauty of the message is this. That when you begin to realize who you are, things start to chain react and they affect others' things in benevolent ways. It's almost like the truth rings in your cellular structure to such a degree, in such a way, the strings on a guitar, for instance, that are tuned together, and you pluck one and the vibration affects the other, and it comes into tune and affects the other, and it starts to vibrate and come into tune. And soon the body gets it. And then all the things you've been telling each string for all these years and all these points, 1, 2, 3, 4, they start to drop away. And you start to realize that just wasn't right. That wasn't right. Here's something we brought up before. This is important, dear ones. It has to do with the integrity of knowledge. This is important. Some of the most profound things you may have learned from your instructors, from your priests, through your shamans, are now starting to drop away in their accuracy. And in that, you feel you will betray them if you cross over to a new truth. That is very real. And you will say, well, but my parents gave me this. And it's what I believe. The mom and dad, they gave me the best they could. It's what I believe. I really loved this pastor I had, and he was just the best man. He's gone now, but I'll always remember what he told me. And that's the way I live my life right now. And suddenly we come along with a whole different idea that goes beyond any of that. And many won't move off that peg because of this. The integrity of the people that you loved who gave you truths that now are starting to slip away. And how do you get through that? Well, there are several ways. Number one, if they're deceased, they now know better. They're here, they're cheering you on. But number two, in your memory, they were giving you in full integrity the best they had. The best they had. And there's nothing wrong with that. If they had what you know today, do you think that they would give that to you? They would. So there's nothing shameful at all or betraying about moving forward and accepting a bigger truth. You control your biology. You control not only how you age and how fast you age, but what happens chemistry as you age. This is so important because part of the scenario is how disease would attach itself to you. I've told you before that as human consciousness starts to evolve to a higher level, it will change the entire body. Because all of your cells are receptors and listening for instructions. And a higher consciousness will give higher kinds of instructions. And in that, eventually, there will be a body that will not accept disease because it's smarter than it used to be. You all understand that you have something called the smart body. And again, I'm going to give you the example of how consciousness works, like homeopathy. You accept homeopathy. Interesting, isn't it, that the fact that this country doesn't have much homeopathy is political. And it's not what you think. It doesn't really have to do with your medicine. It has to do with what happened with the English. When you became Americans and won that war, by the way, you did, you threw away everything European. You threw away their accent, you threw away their medicine, you threw away their religion. You didn't want anything to do with the Church of England. On and on. And part of that was homeopathy. And today when you go to Europe, it's everywhere. And here, it's nowhere. Let's talk about that. Not the fact that it's anywhere you want to find it, dear ones, in your country, you can find it. But the idea of it, it's a conceptual idea that works with the body. Again, we tell you this. Listen to this and understand the logic. A tincture is a design of a minuscule chemical that would send a signal to the body of what the one using the tincture is asking for in healing or peace. Not limited only to chemistry. And the science will look at the tincture and say it's too small for a chemical reaction anywhere, anytime. It's simply too small. Therefore, it cannot do anything chemically. And they're right. They're right. And yet it works. So here is the answer to why it works and the truth about it, which will tie right into the theme of who do you think you are? A tincture under the tongue is an instruction set that's designed that under the tongue, sublingually, the body receives and acts on. Did you get that? So no chemical reaction. It is an instruction set, elegantly designed as that which is instructions to the body on what to do. And then the body does it. And homeopathy works. All right, turn the page. I've just shown you something. I've just shown you proof. The body is listening. The cells want instructions. And you can do it several ways. And one of them, proven, is homeopathy. And the other one is with consciousness. What about consciousness, elegantly designed, through words that you would say or thoughts that you would generate, when you answer the questions, who do you think you are? Because the body receives the instructions that you give it through everyday life. Are you a victim or not? What's your genealogy like? How old are you? I tied this into this morning when I said, I want you to forget everything you were told. Everything that would then posture who you think you are. And start over. You want to write a list? Do it. Read it out loud? Do it. Let the body hear it? Do it. I am an ageless human, magnificent, here on purpose to create light. My genealogy is controllable and programmable. And I give it instructions daily. And you go on from there. The things that happen in my life, I have brought to myself. And now, in that I understand it, I will no longer bring negative things into my life. What are your weaknesses? Don't list them. I am afraid of this or that. And instead, you will say the opposite. These are things that used to bother me, which I have conquered. And your body hears it and sees it. And they are simple things. They're habits that you can cure instantly. As easy as my partner did with being seasick all of his life. And in one session, he was no longer. Dear ones, this is the power you have. And it's not simply about ridding yourself of some awful disease. It's everyday life. One of the attributes you might say, I get angry easily. If you said that and you think that's you, you will get angry easily. I have buttons that people press when they talk about religion and politics. My mother bothers me. I have trouble with my family. And the body hears it all. That's who I am. Who do you think you are? That's who I am. And you think you can come to a meeting and hear something about how to correct this or that and try it and it's going to work? It isn't. Until you start knowing who you are. Coming along with the program shouldn't shock you. Truth is beautiful. You're none of those things you thought you were. The idea of having trouble with this person or that person is reprogrammable. Honestly, I want you to try it. We've said this over and over. To walk into the cauldron of drama that used to bother you with a new attitude and watch what happens when you tell your body, these things are not going to bother me or hurt me. I'm going to have peace and I'm going to see God in those people. That's what I'm going to do. And it takes practice, doesn't it? But it works. Have any of you noticed that when you start doing that, the people that bother you leave? Because they're not getting the reaction anymore. If they can't leave because they're related, they stop bothering you. Because they're not getting the reaction anymore. You've disconnected the button. And so you can stand there and start erasing the things on your list. This person bothers me. I can't do this. I can't do that. And pretty soon you see you have a clean slate of magnificence. And you start to realize, I'm in control. I really am in control. And then you can start talking to yourselves, and then you can start doing the things that we have told you about over and over that work, and they work, and they work. But you can't just walk in as a victim with diseases, knowing their genealogy is awful, aging badly, and expect to plug in these things and have a miracle. Is that offensive to you? Or does it make sense? The biggest one, I said 4 times already. I am born magnificent. I'm here on purpose. I'm here for a reason. I can manufacture light. If there are enough like me on this planet, we'll all manufacture light. And the whole planet is going to change. What about that? Maybe you came here today to hear that. Who do you think you are? I am talking to old souls who can do everything I've said. You've been here and you've done that. You have an Akash that is filled with wisdom of how things work. What I've just given you is not pablum for the soul. It's advanced. But I'm talking to those who I should be talking to, who know of what I speak. I'm in Kryon in love with humanity. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. This is a time, dear ones, for you to be in a state which you would call meditation. It's a time where you dedicate your consciousness to altering the normal state that you would have to receive information, to be quiet, to breathe in a different way, to be relaxed, and let information flow. And the information that may flow today may surprise you. For those who have come upon this channeling and don't know what it is, this is one of 5. And it corresponds to that which is a study of what I have described as the Lemurian teaching wheel. Far more information will be given about the specifics and the academia of the teaching of the Pleiadians to those on an island which we call them Lemurian. In an early time where the slate was completely clean of concepts of God, of spirituality, of beauty, of consciousness, and they could be written on those clean slates of the children. And it begins. And the question would be, what is it that those from the stars who have been through everything for more than 1 million more years than you've been here, what is it that they would tell you? And as you get in to the items one by one that I've given you, specifically wording that they have taught one by one, I want you to put yourself in the place of those who decided that would be taught. You don't talk about it much, and we don't speak of it that much, but way before one planet came to seed another in the beauty and the appropriateness of God's plan, they had to develop what is it they can teach. What is it that they can teach a mind that is not near as developed as theirs? And how can they teach it the best way? And what is it that they would want to emphasize and yet keep the free choice that you were given? And before they could ever teach, there had to be many, many generations of humans so that they would all have the alteration of chromosome 2, the fusing of 24 into 23, so that they would all be the same. Before the teaching could ever begin, chromosome 2 was the one that would absorb it. You see, the Pleiadians are going to want to talk about what's the favorite subject of theirs. A beautiful, majestic, loving, creative source at the center of everything. And that's where they started, dear ones. They didn't teach the children about any of the academia, about any of the spokes or the sizes. They went to the wheel and pointed to the center. And they said, let's talk about what's there. And the center, which we are labeling the hub, is the most beautiful thing that exists. It's a concept that you have. But like children, you have a concept. You don't know. You don't know. Not really. What could possibly be God? Spirit. If you ask those on the planet, what is God? Where is God? How does it work? You'll get as many answers as you have humans you ask. Right now, in the infancy of your consciousness about God and the planet, all you have done is to agree that there must be one. That's all you've done. And that is fairly recent. For many of your civilizations had come to this conclusion before, but always reverted to many. If there are many kinds of civilizations, then there has to be many gods. Over 80% of this planet believes in one God. You are ripe and ready then for the discussion and the consciousness and the realization of what that might mean. And the Pleiadians knew very much that this would be the evolution that you would take, because it was theirs as well. So they had to teach something that was pre-evolutionary, if you think about it, to children, knowing they would grow up and make mistakes like you have. And yet what they taught you, they also know would stick in your Akash so that it was ready. And if you had the opportunity and the earth evolved like they had thought it would or might, if you had the opportunity, the Akash would eventually awaken to a greater truth. So rather than an earth that sits around and argues about that one God and says to the other civilization, and if you don't worship it this way, we're going to kill you. A little bit of a dichotomy, I would say. You don't have it yet. You don't understand it yet. And then the other parts of the civilization make the one God so human it's dysfunctional. But it's still one God. You see, the evolution of the consciousness of what it actually is a mystery to you. But slowly, dear ones, civilization after civilization and culture after culture on this planet will start understanding and realizing a consciousness of oneness. In other words, if there is one God, there has to be a oneness of all things, because God created all things. Eventually it will occur to humanity that there is no separation, and that to separate God into parts of belief is actually childlike. Then they will start to understand and realize that the many religions in the planet can still exist as long as they are compassionate with one another, understanding of one another, and can look at one and say, well, we have our way and you have yours. Isn't it beautiful that we can both love God? And you can stand and hold hands in different outfits, in different ways, and different symbols, and different beliefs, and even different products. And you can say they all emanated from one place. Isn't it grand? Perhaps there'll be one song to sing eventually, where you hold hands in many religions with many outfits and many symbols, can all hold hands and sing one song together that is so powerful that you weep with the beauty of understanding we came from somewhere else. And in the DNA, more and more you discover that compassion and the teaching and the original information from the source is there. Some will never need the teaching wheel, because out will come an intuitive energy right from your Akash, right from that which was implanted in you for this time. Wisdom implanted in you that you haven't seen yet. It's going to happen all over the planet. It already is. There is already a preparation for the idea and the concept that maybe, just maybe, you will meet extraterrestrials who are gentle and benign and smarter and wiser than you. That is just a seed of a beginning idea you simply haven't had before. Because you've made them all dysfunctional like you. Every ET that's supposed to have come to this planet is out to get you. And that, dear ones, as we've said before, is human nature. You see, that's the story of you. These are the things that are starting to change. There is benevolence coming. And the benevolence is human to human. It's an honoring of human to human. And we have told you before that as you look backward and as your grandchildren look into the past, and they start to learn about history, they're going to turn to you and say, "You're kidding. You did that?" Everything before 2012, you might even label the barbaric years because of what is starting to happen. And we've told you yet again that these changes cannot happen overnight because humans don't like change. And the kind of changes that are consciousness and benevolence and peaceful and gentle that are starting to come means that some of the ones that aren't that way have got to break down. If you've noticed, they are. Imagine a beautiful kind of government that you put together and you're so proud of, and then you come and you find out, well, what is the attribute of that government? Well, we argue. That's the best you got? Yes. And what do you accomplish? Almost nothing. And why is that? Because we argue. And you say, well, maybe there's something better. And we've talked about that as well. New ideas of making things work in a way that no one has seen fit to even think about are coming your way. How you live will also create what you discover. And the inventions that are coming, we've told you, will change your life in ways you need to have it changed soon. And all of that is not just consciousness. Many of those things come from the climate changes we've told you are coming. All of these things to refresh the life in the ocean. This planet is revitalizing itself. And dear ones, you are at the forefront of that. And there are those who are listening and say, this is a crazy guy talking. He thinks things are getting better. And we say to you yet again, examine the filter where you look at yourselves and others. And examine why it is that all the time, anything you look at, the glass is always half empty. And you'll find that everywhere because that's the human nature that used to be. That's who you used to be. And the past that was is always what you carry as history and throw upon the future and say, well, as it was before, yet it will be again, and here we go. And it's not going to get any better. And that's what you're facing, dear human. You are facing right now an idea, a paradigm that you're going to have to break that says that we know what's going to happen because we know the past. Well, this weekend is a study of a past you don't know. And that past is filled with what the Pleiadians decided to teach you first, and what to concentrate on first, the hub that says you are dearly loved, you are born magnificent, get with it. And everything that isn't that is wrong. That perhaps you ought to look at things again from a different standpoint and sit for a moment and be quiet and breathe and say to Spirit, is this true? Am I really loved that much? And then feel the chills that say, it took you long enough to ask. And then there will be those who start to receive the information that is in their Akash right from the stars. And then the idea, perhaps, that you came from somewhere else and that you actually have Pleiadian DNA will not be so strange. And people will not go running from you when you tell them what you believe. Because science will start to prove it. And then there will be that place, a turning point, where science must get involved in spirituality. Because the study of all things on this planet is the study of how the Creator did it. You can't go around discussing an invention and then telling young people, well, we can't tell you who did it. Don't mention the name. Just study what it is. And now they're going to reveal what happened. It had to be from something bigger than we expect. You're here on purpose. We still don't know why, the scientists will say, but now we have evidence. that you came from somewhere else? Do you see how the religions of the planet may have to rewrite some things in order to be more galactic and less gullible? Do you see how God gets much bigger and more benevolent than ever? And this is what we are starting to teach. So as the day begins and the channelings continue, they will be subject-driven by what you decide, dear ones, and what you come up with in your discussions, dear ones. And that is the way it should be. Your free choice is important. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time-sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. This morning we ask you to feel the wind of truth. It's a metaphor. When you feel the wind, it blows often in a gentle way that's refreshing. And that's the way the truth is of this shift. You're looking at new energies that you have never had before presented to you in different ways. Years ago, we spoke of the recalibration energy. You have passed through that. And now comes the work. So many of you have asked this very day, what's next? What should I do? What's possible? Because this is new, dear ones, the manual for what's next hasn't been written. But there are things we can ask you to do that are so able to be done. And it has to be done by old souls. Now, this is an overview. It's a generality that I'm giving you. It's not a specific. So let's talk about the specifics first, which is backwards. You ask you what you're going to do next. What are you supposed to do? What is that which is in the plan for you? And almost all of you, we say to you, you're unique. So it may be different for each of you, but there is one thing that we're going to start asking for, and you're going to hear it more and more. Old soul, in this new energy, things are going to come to you. Watch for the synchronicity. Don't pass it up. When you hear ideas, when you meet people, when somebody says, let's go over here and do something and you've never done it before, that is synchronicity. And the second thing we would say to you is that in the synchronicity that you will meet, see it for what it is, because that's what you should do. What brought you here to this room? For those of you sitting here, what's the synchronicity? Not all of you said, oh yes, I'm going to go to this meeting, let's buy a ticket now. In fact, there's a lot of you. But that did not happen at all. And here you sit to hear these messages. Messages of hope and truth. Can you feel the wind blowing? Things are changing, dear ones. And the second large thing we'd ask you individually is to be patient. Human beings, when they start feeling the energies and realize the aha of truth, are so excited. And they want to act now. It's almost like you're going to run out of time, and you're not. Be patient. Let the things develop as they come to you. You'll know what to do with them. We told you over and over, it's time to start practicing mastery, to treat others differently. All of these things. That's what you're here for. We've said before, those of you who are sitting around expecting a plan, what am I supposed to do? And we've said before, what if you're already doing it? What if your very existence anchors energy for those around you. What if you're playing a part you don't even know you're playing simply by being you around others who are watching you? What if that's why you're here? Do you realize the importance of that, of who you're touching and who you're changing? So it's not like you think. It's not a linear, what am I to do? And yet, I'm going to ask you for something now. All of you. All of those listening to my voice, all of those in the room, there really is something you can do. My partner touched on an energy. You might call it a scenario that is going on right now on this planet. The very thing I'm going to discuss is something that is holding you back from the evolution that we speak of, from the wild cards that are coming, for the inventions we told you you need, the things that are being developed and are ready right now are being held up by what I'm going to tell you. It's very real what my partner was telling you, that most of this planet is still in an expectation of doom mode. Most. Wherever you go, there is this feeling of what you have called waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're overdue for doom. You're overdue for the world war that was given to you as prediction after prediction after prediction. It is so odd. Everything around you says it's changed. Everything. If you will take a look at the wars that you've had, the last World War and the one before, take a look at who the players were. Now take a look at what they're doing. They've dropped their borders. They're trading with one another. The scenario for the next war is not there, and yet you expect it. You take a look at all that is around you. It is not then yelling at you, you're going to have a war. There's so much more that's giving you the evidence. That's not what's going to happen at all. Then why is it that you feel like it's coming? Now, those listening to my voice, old souls. Those in the room, old souls. You are awakening to a grander truth for the planet. A truth that doesn't just belong to a niche amount of believers. It's for the whole planet. Therefore, I'm telling you something that involves the whole planet. But the old souls are the graduates. You have most of the experience. You have profound consciousness that can change energy. The world is expecting doom. The books that have been written about the fractals tell you about the ripples of time that repeat themselves. That yell to you that there's going to be problems, there's going to be war. That yell to you your economy is going to collapse at any moment. There are seeds of truth in the ripples. Let me tell you something perhaps you have figured out or not. The ripples of an old energy are dangerous to you. Dangerous. Because if enough human beings buy into the old energy, it's going to slow things down, and some of them will occur. So now you know what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to start spreading the word to everybody that you know, who would ask you, who would mention it, in idle passing or not. Shape your words for a good future. Don't buy into this. Don't be persuaded that something awful has to occur. Dear ones, the prophecies have come and gone. You are in the clear. But the ripples are still there of the old energy. When you hear those speak of it, you can tell them this. Well, it didn't happen. We've got a good future ahead. They'll start giving you chapter and verse of the old energy. They'll tell you what has happened and therefore, and therefore. They'll pull the politics of the day into it. They'll say, and therefore, and therefore. And you don't have to convince them. All you have to do is show them you don't agree. In a loving way, you can say, yeah, I don't think so. I feel something good is coming. Old souls carry weight. You carry it with your family, with your children, with your friends, with your colleagues. And the weight you carry is because of who you are and who they see in you. Are you a person who was slow to anger, who was quick to love? Are you a person who is not showing their age as much? Are you a person who has more energy than you should for your age? Are you a person that they will look at and they will say, I don't know what you've got, but I like it? They're going to listen to you, old soul. Anyone who listens to my voice, I'm going to call it a name. I want you to rewrite the past. The old ripples of time that say that you are overdue for something was written in an old energy. You are rewriting that energy. You have seen the prophecies of an older time drop away. The Mayan calendar told you that old history and time was over. The new calendar that has been put up by the Maya says that history is going to go into a place nobody expected. That a new long count is here. And that human consciousness can go into an evolved state higher than it's ever been. Where is that realization? And I'll tell you, it's only with the wise ones. And that's you. You come to a meeting like this, you get excited because you hear the facts. You see the physics. You hear the predictions. And you walk out the door and you know, absolutely know, that things are different and the shift is here and there's a chance that humanity will pull out of this faster than you know. That's the first thing I'm going to ask you to do. But the second thing, well, it may be backwards, dear ones. I do that a lot. Even the logic is in a circle. One thing leads to another. One thing builds on another. There are those listening to my voice that still don't believe it. How are you going to live in a way that's going to tell others to expect good things are coming? How are you going to rewrite this past if you haven't really cognized it, if you don't believe it? You would say, well, Kryon, this should have been the first thing. No, I wanted to give you the most profound thing first. You're going to have to change the past. You're going to have to avoid the ripple. And that can only be done by high consciousness groups of individuals who are spreading the word in their own way of a bright future for this planet of better consciousness. You're going to have to cognize it. You're going to have to believe it for yourself. You're going to have to know it's different. It's got to be your truth. So strong does it have to be that it competes with your belief system of whether gravity is real or not. Whether when you drop something it'll fall on the floor or not. That's how cognizing works. It has to be part of your cellular structure. That's why I'm here. I'm here to carry humanity into a brighter future and to void out those ripples, those old energy things that we have felt coming and are still here. The earth is still expecting to terminate. Kryon, what do we do about that? Well, if you just wait, it'll go away. But that's not what you want, is it? Generation after generation will eventually clear the ripples. You're already starting to see it with the indigos. They're not buying into an old energy system. One of those things they're not buying into is the ripples. Are you going to wait for another generation and another and perhaps another before you can move forward? Or are you going to start getting active? Kryon, I don't really understand. What am I supposed to do? And just shout it from the rooftop? I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. You watch. Because suddenly in your life, you will have synchronicity to open your mouth. It'll come from various sources, and you remember this moment. And you'll smile because you'll say, here it is. Somebody will say to you, do you believe this election? Do you believe what's going on here? Do you believe how bad all of this energy is? What do you say normally? Yeah, it's bad. I see it. Or do you say, I recognize it, and you know what? The next one is going to be different. Things are changing. It's going to get better. You just wait. You say that, dear one. How many people will take that and repeat it? Do you see what you've done? At every single time, you get the synchronicity to state a bright future. How many times have people complained to you or saw that you were a listener, and you are, and they come to you and they say, things are not going well. What do you say? What should come out of your mouth immediately? That's today. Just wait for tomorrow. And if you do this, and if you will believe this, and if you will then find the God inside, perhaps you'll find the joy and understand that humanity is headed for a bright future. And it can go faster if you do that. But you got to believe it. You got to believe it before it can be passed on. This is the first time I have broached this. That now your job gets harder. You've called yourself a light worker. Turn on the light. You're going to find moment after moment after moment presented to you, you didn't even recognize what you were saying or doing. Where you can turn it around in a benevolent way and not argumentative. And you can say, yes, I've seen the election. Isn't it interesting? It's going to be something different next time. And then after that, even next time. You can say, isn't it interesting to watch and see the old energy we never saw before? And now we can start cleaning it up. People will walk away saying, either that's a wise, old, cheerful person, even if you're young, or they'll say, that's a Pollyanna. And they'll walk away and do whatever they wish. It doesn't matter what they do with it, dear ones, what you do with it. Can you turn things around so that you are a positive speaker? A positive speaker. Number 3, the final. We use 3 because this is the catalyst. This is going to be the catalyst. If enough old souls are doing this regularly, it's going to be obvious to many. What's going on with them? They're not echoing anymore the drama that's here. They're not agreeing anymore that the old energy is here. Instead, all they're seeing is light. The third thing. How do I tell you this? You've heard it before. This won't be work if you fall in love with yourself. This won't be work if you fall in love with yourself. If you're with a cheerful person, it's contagious, isn't it? If you're with a person who has joy and laughter, it's contagious, isn't it? Who are you? Now, you're going to see I just went backwards on everything. Should have been the first thing I said. Fall in love with yourself, cognize it's real, and spread the word. I did it backwards. I want you to think about the circle of time you're in and the fact that that's why it is the way it is. The circle of time has created the belief that people have that doom is coming. The new energy that was predicted all over the planet is here, and yet the old energy circle still exists in the psyche of those who have experienced it all their life. Enter the old soul with joy, with love, with a countenance that is a smiling countenance, not a depressed one. Are you listening? Some of you need to hear this. You're so concerned with the earth and what's happening that you walk around depressed. May I just tell you, your depression is not helping anyone, even you. You can be as concerned as you want to. You can frown all day long, and you haven't helped a soul. Are you listening? God is joyful, and the things that you worry about will be faster settled if you'll spread the word of joy. That's all we're asking. Change your countenance, watch for the synchronicities, and at every single point, if you can, give a positive outcome, not an agreed on negative one. Oh, it's easy to listen to somebody complain and say, yeah, that's the way it is. And then you move on. How many times do you do that? You might think, well, it's none of my business. I don't want to start an argument. You're not, dear ones. When you state the obvious, my truth is that we're climbing out of this. It may not look like it. Don't watch the news anymore. You can tell them. Because all you're going to see is ugly stuff, and it's going to lay on you and hurt your heart. Turn it off and create the reality this earth needs. It's getting better, not worse. There are those who will turn away and not believe you. And then there are those who will start understanding what you're saying. They may even come and listen to the facts that were presented even this day that you won't necessarily see on your news. That this planet is going through a recalibration and starting to correct things that need correcting. And slowly the integrity of humanity is one that no longer wants war. I want you to analyze how many countries are there on the planet and how many are actually fighting with everybody else. It's a fraction of what it was 50 years ago. Fraction. There's really only about 3 or 4 holdouts today that have dictators who would willingly invade another country. That's old energy. Dear ones, that is not what's going to happen. Take a look at the reaction of the countries to this. Take a look at what humanity in general is after and trying to do. Putting things together and not tearing them apart. Not circling the wagons and competing for resources anymore. Trying to put it together and make it work. You've been doing this now long enough now that you can see it's not the way it used to be. Tell your friends. This is what the old souls is about today. It's not going to be that hard when you believe it. You walk around with a smile and joyful. People ask, what have you got? What are you doing? Why are you smiling so much? And you can say, because things are getting better. They're getting better in my life because I've discovered there's a shift going on. This isn't going to void out somebody's belief system or religion for you to say the future is going to get better. The prophecies of the old, they didn't happen. They're not coming. They didn't happen. All the timelines that were given to you, including the end of time with the Mayans, is not what took place. Instead, things are starting to improve. That's the message. You'll see, because the synchronicity will be given to you to comment more than you think. And then my advice is that comment in love, in joy, not in opposition. There's a difference. You can hold them to your bosom as friends, as mates, and at the same time you can give them beautiful information without making them wrong, because you're giving it in joy with a smile. I believe things are going to improve. That's the predictions of the ancients. We've passed a corner. It's a tough time right now. You're seeing a lot of opposition to light. And I am the light. What a joyful, loving answer. Not an opposing proposition. Not an opinion that's different. It's just a statement of power. Old soul, you know how to do this. You've been there, you've done that. You know human nature. Fall in love with yourself. Start to change your continence of joy. Cognize the truth that things are happening differently. And then cancel this ripple of doom. If you can cancel the ripple or even make a dent in it, I will tell you the speed of what is going to take place will quicken. The fewer people who expect the end will create a far faster evolution of consciousness on this planet. But those ripples of doom that are not going to happen, that people still sense, have got to go away or be erased or at least diminished before some of the things that I know are coming will arrive. You have a bright future. Wait till you see the next wild card. It's not coming until the planet is clear of expecting the end. There are some movies being developed that may surprise you. Because the Indigos are young enough now to be writing the scripts. There will be some of hope. There will be some that are rewriting the past and reminding those in the story of the things that did not happen. There'll be those who are brave enough to paint the future as something they didn't expect. It would be good. Watch for this. It's just now beginning to happen. Watch for literature that changes, with writers who are now writing about a kinder, softer future. What is at hand that might work? Watch for exciting stories, even science fiction, about a bright future. Watch for stories about meeting benevolent aliens that might actually help the planet. And the drama that would ensue around it, and those who might not believe them. It's all part of avoiding the ripples of doom. And it can advance your evolution by generations. Do you accept the task? This is the old soul. I'm hearing it all over the planet. It's not going to be that hard if you see the truth and the light that is there. I am Kryon, in love with humanity for obvious reasons. I'll say it again. I have seen this before. You have seen this before. It's in your Akash on another planet. It's starting to reoccur, starting to come back to you. You are starting to feel better about it. At the same time, you understand God is inside you. You have help. You're not doing this alone, and you'll see it. You'll see it. That's enough for now. And so it is.